companies, organizations, you have control mechanisms, you have coordinators coordinating everything. So coordination basically involves that all the systems should be connected to each other. They should be in sync and should work in harmony. Similarly, in our body, the human neural system is performing that function, right? So when we talk of human neural system, what does it enable us to do? Basically, our body's control and coordination are controlled by two types of system. Major systems are the neural system and the other is endocrine system. Now, the neural system, it works very fast. Okay, it has to. Its function is to work very fast. Now, the functions that we'll describe under it will automatically explain why. And the endocrine system, it also helps in coordination and controls a lot of physiological activities of the body, but it acts relatively much slower. So let's start with the human neural system, where we are talking about coordination, response, and integration. Three major functions. There are lot of intricate roles under these functions. What we are trying to say is this: if you're talking about a simple activity like a person walking or like me talking, so these are all voluntary functions. And there would be some functions which will be involuntary. This is something which we have studied in other previous classes also, previous standard also. So it does this by receiving stimulus, by processing it, by sending it back to the body. So there's a lot of integration activity that takes place. So broadly, we can say that there is coordination, integration, and response phenomena. So broadly, human neural system is doing these functions. But now we have to first understand the elements or the parts of a human neural system, what all are there. Okay. Now, before that, quickly, as your textbook mentions, that the neural system has evolved from a very small species, how it has evolved into that of a vertebrate. Now, that is for all systems in our body, not just the neural system. That has been the process of evolution, that from tissue level to organ level to system level, it has grown. So similarly here also, this example the book has given is of simple cnidarian, the hydra, which has a very, very simple neural system which helps it to survive. It helps to protect it, sense the things around it wherever it is growing, or for its food, for anything. So its neural system is helping it to sense. It's a very primitive system. Then comes the insect. Insect would have a ganglia, okay, a little more developed, and it would have some tactile, some antenna, which will help it sense it is also going to eat on something, some food. So sense karne mein help karte hain. But then slowly it has evolved and has become more complex in human beings, because we are one of the most evolved species of the animal kingdom. That is why all systems are most evolved in the vertebrates. So the main division of human neural system are central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So as it is explained, the central nervous system is the central control of the body, like a CPU. Okay, it consists of brain and spinal cord. And the peripheral nervous system, it has all nerves outside the CNS. Central nervous system ke bahar jitne bhi nerves hain, was peripheral nervous system. Okay? Basically, what it is, what are the functions? If we have to look at it, the gross function is site of information processing and control. That is the central nervous system. Now, the peripheral nervous system is connecting the central nervous system to rest of the body system. Now, if you look at central nervous system, like we said, brain and the spinal cord are the two main components of the central nervous system. Together, what is the kind of function they would, conduct? The function hai, like whatever sensory stimuluses are going to the brain, they are processed, they are analyzed, then brain makes a decision and sends it back to another set of nerves to the body, so that the body can perform its voluntary functions and other functions, which are not just walking, sleeping, talking, but there could be other functions inside the body also. Now we will go ahead and study what are, but primarily central nervous system, the bodily functions, the functions of the internal organs are controlled by, not directly by the central nervous system. As we move forward, we'll understand this. So as brain and spinal cord, it is together. What they are doing, they are controlling, as I said, they're helping in analysis, decision making, and issuing commands. Now, if you want to look at individually what is brain doing or what is spinal cord doing, so brain has got separate parts in it. As we study the structure of brain going ahead in the chapter, and each part is allocated a separate function, right? So brain would not only control the voluntary activities of the body, but also processes like memorization, thoughts, all these are controlled by brain. Okay, so similarly, the spinal cord. Spinal cord is like a to and fro mechanism. It performs that function. So brain is basically controlling memory, emotions, thoughts. All these are, along with voluntary functions, these are the functions or the control which the brain is uh, doing. So it is also controlling thoughts, memory, emotions besides voluntary action. And I said, as I said, there are different regions of the brain which are allocated with these functions. Now, spinal cord transmits signal to and fro from brain. So, but there are certain functions which spinal cord alone would do, like knee-jerk action, and there are some more. As we go ahead, I'll share with you. So, broadly, central nervous system is the brain and spinal cord, and together they are doing the job of the decision maker. They are making the decision and telling the body to act accordingly. Now, next is the peripheral nervous system. Now, what is peripheral nervous system? As we said, that all that is connecting the rest of the central nervous system is connected to the rest of the body with the peripheral nervous system. So, nerves arising from brain are all cranial nerves, from spine, these are spinal nerves. Now, the peripheral nervous system is further divided into two more types depending upon the type of nerve fibers. So, one type of nerve fiber is the afferent nerve fibers, and the other is efferent nerve fibers, right? So afferent nerve fibers are the sensory nerve fibers which take the information from the part of the body to the brain, and efferent is the one which brings it back. So the subtypes under peripheral neural system is afferent fibers and efferent fibers, and we say sensory neural system or motor neural system. So sensory neural system is relatively simpler. So it will take the stimulus from the receptors to the brain, right? So whenever you have any sensation like the touch sensation, it is happening because of the sensory stimulus that is being taken to the by the sensory fibers to the brain, all such stimulus. However, the reaction to that sense is because of the signal, because of the information that is brought back by the motor fibers to the body, whether it is a muscle or a gland in the body. Now, let us look at it in a more holistic way. So, in order to understand that, we have to take the example of, let's say, the e-commerce business, okay, where people are buying a lot of things, just say online, anything is purchased. So people have varied choices. All these go into the central repository where things are processed, and then the whole logistic process starts. फिर वहां से divisions होते हैं, distributors, कहाँ जाएगा, what are the channels, and then it would reach the end user. So that way, similarly, the motor fibers, once decisions are made in the brain, the motor fiber is bringing the efferent nerve system is bringing the signals or taking the signals accordingly. So motor fibers is a relatively little more complex than the afferent nervous system. So let us look at the subdivisions of the efferent nervous system. So they are divided into two types, somatic and autonomic neural system. Now the word somatic, what does it refer to? Somatic means the word soma, as we all know, refers to anything that is pertaining to our body. So our whole body can be called as soma, or any part of the main body of the cell can also be called as soma. So all things which are voluntary in nature and controlled primarily by skeletal muscles fall under somatic neural system, just say walking, okay. Otherwise, the autonomic neural system is the one where you cannot control this. You cannot control this. Means this is totally involuntary and primarily controlling the internal organs. Like in our body, all the functions like respiratory system, circulatory system, other functions which go on its own. We are not making any effort to make that happen. And those are primarily through the involvement of smooth muscles, cardiac muscles in case of heart, and glands also, because they will secrete hormones when they receive a stimulus. Skeletal muscles, in case of movement, walk कर रहे हो, लिख रहे हो, हाथ हिला रहे हो. So this is controlled by the somatic nervous system. These are all voluntary control mechanisms. Now, when it comes to autonomic nervous neural system, it gets a little more detailed in the sense that under autonomic neural system, you will have two more types of subsystems, which is sympathetic and parasympathetic, right? Now, sympathetic, when we say sympathetic, the word itself, the sympathetic, means the body is being sympathetic. The neural system is being sympathetic towards the body, and it is protecting it from emergency situations. So, jaldi se agar kuch hota hai, there is a sudden, a blast or something, there's big noise, and you have to, run from there. So it's a flight or fight response. Either you protect yourself and fight. So that is controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. And in that case, some responses, like immediately it increases, it affects the cardiac system, the heart rate increases, the pupil dilates. Okay. But the moment you're out of that situation and you go and sit down, then the parasympathetic system takes over, which is the normal state of rest. Body का जो normal process जिस space में चल रहा है, that is controlled by the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, if we take a kind of a 360-degree look at the human neural system that we just studied, so we'll have a central nervous system, which will have the brain and the spinal cord. So brain plus spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, which will have the sensory and motor nervous system, as we discussed. Sensory nervous system are the one which are taking the signals to the brain. Motor neural system, bringing back from the CNS to the peripheral part. To the body parts, to the effector organs. So now motor nervous system, the efferent neural system is again divided into two parts, depending upon whether it is voluntary or involuntary. So there is somatic and autonomic nervous system. And again, under autonomic nervous system, we have sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So if you have to understand the entire neural system, you can have a look at this diagram, and it will give you a clarity of the components of each. Now that we know the system, let us try and understand that from the various functions of our daily life, how these systems are, what are the interplay of these systems that are helping us to perform those functions or some special functions also. So let us look at this picture. Here we'll see people walking. Okay. So either somebody is walking with a child, or कोई shopping करके आ रहा है, कोई cycle लेके जा रहा है. Okay. Now this whole activity of walking, how it is controlled. So you want to go somewhere. So you suddenly get up and you start walking, take the stairs or the lift and go out to reach the destination. Now for that, what happens? Brain का जो motor cortex है, वो सबसे पहले process करता है. ठीक है? Now what it does, then will send the signal to the leg muscles. So now you are ready to walk. But सिर्फ इससे तो नहीं होगा. So let us understand how all other components are participating to make this, process of walking happen. So why it is happening? So एक बार तो motor cortex signal आता है, so you stand up and you start walking. But then there is something called balance. You have to walk straight. Okay. You have to ensure you are taking the right steps. Then you also have to ensure you're moving in the right direction. You have to ensure that you are able to hear the horn. You are able to see things in front of you. So it involves a whole lot of the central nervous system. And this is ear and eyes are part of vestibular system, which you will study probably initially. And there are receptors which are constantly providing feedback to the brain. So the whole cycle of the sensory nerve and the brain processing and bringing it back through the motor nerve continues to work. Similarly, let's look at the function, like I'm talking, speaking. Okay, speaking is also controlled in a very intricate manner by two centers in the brain, which is called Broca's centers and Wernicke's area. One is for speech and one is for comprehension, जो language है. So यहाँ पे जो Wernicke's area है, ये decide करता है कि like what I'm going to teach, how I'm going to teach, okay, what tools I should select for teaching. And then this becomes the speech area. Now I'm talking. The speech area will include, not only the stimulus which will come from the speech center, but also the other effector organs in the mouth area, not just the vocal cords. It would be also the facial muscles, your tongue, everything. It will receive the motor command from the brain through the cranial nerves, and it will produce the sound. You will start talking. So you must have noticed that people, aged people who wear dentures, the moment they take the denture out, so the communication, the speech gets affected because their mouth is not used to, responding to that stimulus with the denture. So it's not just the vocal cord, it's all other muscles around the vocal cords which acts together to produce sound, or you start talking. Similarly, there is a situation where, intricate reflexes, very fine reflexes are required. For example, in case of sports, or even that for that matter, driving. Okay, you need to have too many coordinations. So a bowler who wants to catch a ball with precision, so how the whole system works, it looks very easy ki jaake ball pakad liya. So a sports person has to undergo a lot of training, which not only builds his body, builds his system, muscles, bones, joints, but also his neural system. His reflexes improve through continuous practice and training. Now, so what happens in this case? The eye first sees the ball coming. So the occipital center is the center in the brain which works for the eye. So it has got all the ophthalmic or the visual, processing happens there. So it gets processed there. So once it reaches the brain, then the brain will process it with speed to, so dekhna hai ki what is the speed of the ball, from which direction it is coming, how much would be the distance between the player and the ball. So all these things the brain is processing. After that, the reflex comes back from the motor cortex to the hand of the player. तब जाके वो बॉल को पकड़ेगा. अब जब पकड़ेगा, that time he also has to see, he is doing it with precision. Which direction should he maneuver? So those fine things are also controlled by another part of the brain called cerebellum. So each and every function of our body is controlled by the intricate working of the human neural system. Here is one more example which explains a type of response which is very quick and fast and protective in nature, and is like the sympathetic nervous system we were explaining. It's like a reflex. Okay, so suppose your hand touches the flame. Okay, now what happens? You will take it away. Now voluntarily nobody does that. So accidentally, if it touches, if you see this purple line, these are the sensory nerves which takes the stimuli to the spinal cord. Instead of bringing the spinal cord, there would be a sympathetic ganglia here, which will process it and send it back through the efferent fibers to the muscle, and the muscle will react immediately, and the hand will be moved. So you'll move the hand away. So this is a protective mechanism. Now, isme kya hai ki the spinal cord is acting more like a local relay, because it has to be very fast. Otherwise, it also acts like a highway, like I explained, between brain and, taking the stimulus, it processes, then it comes back. So in this case, it is working like a relay system, and the response has to be very fast. So just like as I explained, receptors to take the temperature in this case, or it could be pain if somebody is holding your hand tight or somebody stepped on your foot. So then what happens, the sensory signal goes to the spinal cord. With the help of the efferent nerves, it comes back to the muscles and hand is quickly pulled back. So this is an example where not the central nervous system, it's a local reflex controlled by the spinal cord. Thank you. That's all for the dummy. It will continue into the structure of neuron and generation, transmission of signals, etc. So with that note, I'll close it here. Thank you.